Greymaniacs gather. We're going to do a little reading today. A little reading from Lois Lane, Superman's girlfriend Lois Lane, number 131. This has been requested to me by a few boys and girls from Slingers Showdown show on my channel. So here we go. Lois Lane, number 131. I'm going to read you the lead story. Superman, you've got to marry me. There's my child. That giant? And here we see Lois Lane with a giant child trying to get Superman to marry her. You know, don't miss the giant surprise tale of the year. Superman, marry me. Also, for the first time, meet Melba. Got an advert there. Looks like a good bicycle for the road. One for the roads, one for the loads. Yeah, good stuff. Raleigh. I think they pronounce it Raleigh in America. I think I've heard that. Anyway, another day in the life of crack news reporter Lois Lane, but a day that is destined to be like no other. Okay, Fatch, the Lane Dame is almost over the manhole. Another 3 seconds and push the plunger over and out. I read you, over and out. 3, 2, 1. Kaboom! 0. I added the kaboom. I know there's a kaboom. Baroom! Or barroom. I fancy a pint. Barroom. Baroom! We can see it's from June 1973, this story. Next instant, as the ear-torturing blast rips through the air and spurs all bystanders to stare. Did you see that? Gracious, I can't believe my eyes. It just isn't possible. Out of sight. Nothing to worry about, folks. The full force of the blast never hit me, thanks to my young protector here, Mick. Naturally, Mick's reflexes were fast enough to save me from harm. Look at her. A perfect landing from 30 feet up. Not even the greatest circus acrobat in the world could match that stunt. Is my colleague from WGBS Superwoman? Who is this stunning, lovely girl who seems to know Lois? Keep reading. Spoilers, that's Melba. She's a new character. She becomes a colleague and roommate of Lois, I believe. But apart from all the wide-eyed faces, one bystander is most amazed and disappointed. How am I going to explain to the boss that Lois Lane just backflipped herself over the dynamite blast? I don't even believe it, and I was watching. Meantime, an even stranger spectacle is unfolding. Thank you, Mick. I owe you my life. Let's go to the Daily Planet building. I'm sure my friends and colleagues will be anxious to meet you. Wow, she's talking to herself. When she flipped over that explosion, her mind flipped with her. You really are like a son to me, Mick. I'm so glad I adopted you. I hate to even think it. Lois Lane, suffering from hallucinations. Has it finally happened? After all these years of taking daring risks and braving spine-chilling danger during her young career, has Lois finally cracked under the tremendous strain? If you think it's a freaky situation now, wait till Superman finds out how he's involved when Lois begs the Man of Steel, Superman, marry me. Story by Carey Bates, art by John Rosenberger and Vinnie Coletta. Soon, in the office of Planet editor Perry White, I want you to get on this story right away, Clark. Sure thing, Chief. Hey, who opened my door? Well, Perry, Clark, what do you think of my newly adopted son? Mick, say hello to Mr. White and Mr. Kent. Don't be shy, Mick. Oh, they actually split the speech bubble here is in the wrong place. The speech bubble should be pointing to Lois, but it's pointing to, It's pointing to Perry instead. Don't be shy, Mick. He says he's still bashful, fellas. Not used to being around other people yet. Who's bashful? Lois, is there supposed to be someone else in the room? There's no one else there, Lois. A most astonishing, bizarre conversation follows. And yesterday, Mick came to my doorstep, homeless, without parents or friends. I planned to write his story, an exclusive for you, Perry. Great Caesar's ghost! Whose story? You've been overworking lately, Lois. I think you're about due for a long rest. Elsewhere in Metropolis, fools! You're just a pair of bungling bookends! Crunch. Lois Lane is still very much alive. Your sewer blast blew up the gasser instead of your victim. We've got some adverts here. We'll train you in your spare time for an exciting outdoor career. Oh, you can join the Fish Commission or the Riverside Game Farm, or become a wildlife officer or a game fish parks bloke or lady. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Think of all the fresh air you could get out there if you join the National School of Conservation. Wasn't our fault, boss. Honest, it was like Lois Lane had a helping hand from somewhere, only we couldn't see it. Superman himself couldn't have pulled off a better rescue. If the Lane Dame lives to take the stand next week, I'm in big trouble. But you two will end up neighbours in the morgue. Get my meaning? Yes, boss. Don't worry, we'll wipe her out for you. Meantime, come on, Mick. No sense wasting any more time with these journalistic jokers. I don't know why Clark Kent and the others pretended not to see you. What a tasteless prank. So she's still convinced that there's this Mick boy is with her. And far above, the most powerful eyes in the world, disguised in the identity of Clark Kent, peer down at Lois from high above the WGBS building. I'm thoroughly scanning around Lois with my X-ray vision, but there's no one else within 20 feet of her. No doubt now she's talking to herself, walking with a delusion. I know Lois has always wanted to marry me as Superman and raise a family. Can it be that her overwhelming desire to become a mother has finally snapped her mind to the breaking point? What do you say, reader? Has Lois conceived an imaginary son for herself, or is there another explanation? Next moment, Clark Kent, the mild-mannered reporter, makes a startling rooftop change. Worrying about Lois almost made me forget Superman has an appointment with the district attorney in exactly 58 seconds. Luckily, WGBS towers above surrounding skyscrapers, so no one will see me switch garb up here. Slightly bad reading there, do apologise. And less than a minute later, after a flashing flight, Superman's X-ray vision detects, Superman, just let me have a bite of my usual morning donut. Great Krypton! The DA is unaware that he is about to detonate a camouflage bomb that will splatter him and his office into the next county. But it's not polite to eat in front of company. Whoosh. What? I know. Let's get that right. Sorry, Mr. Barger. But it's not polite to eat in front of company. Whoosh. What? As soon as the action ace swallows the donut in one swift gulp, boom! Oh my gosh, that's the sound of a muffled explosion. My jelly donut has a bomb. Now, baroom is the sound of a manhole cover being exploded. We had this already. Barroom. Someone likes a pub. Someone wanted you to bite off more than you could chew, Mr. Barger. And I know who. Bull Barkley. He'd do anything to keep me from prosecuting him in court next week, but I'm afraid the state's star witness is in even more danger than I. You mean Lois Lane? That's why I asked you here, Superman. Miss Lane has stubbornly refused the police protection I offered her. She said it would upset her boy. That must be Lois's imaginary Mick. Her condition is worse than I feared. Please keep a close watch on Miss Lane these next few days, Superman. Barkley's thugs already tried once to kill her. They won't get another chance as long as I'm around to protect Lois. I promise. Meanwhile, at the Daily Planet offices, a jittery Perry White presses his intercom. Mabel, page Melba Manton at WGBS and ask her to stop by my office. Yes, sir. I believe she's in Studio 8 right now. Or is that Studio B? Studio B, I think. Minutes later, after a briefing, you're a smart newscaster, Melba. That's why I'm asking this favour of you. I'll be glad to check up on Lois Lane, Mr. White. After all, I like Lois too, and news troubleshooting is my thing. The news is bad if Lois really has flipped over this make-believe kid. Her testimony in the Barkley case will be worthless if she's still having delusions. Soon, as the Man of Steel streaks over the metropolis skyline, Lois is in terrible danger again and must super speed to her apartment while there's still time. But in the next startling instant, something's stopping me from saving Lois. The red and blue form of mighty Superman suddenly, inexplicably vanishes into nothingness. And in the reporter's apartment, impending death is in the air. I'm sure glad you're here with me, Mick. With my 3 roommates away on vacation, this place gets pretty lonely. Outside, in the killer's helicopter. How's this? Steady enough? About a foot more to the right. I'll have a direct bead on the late Miss Lois Lane. Ha ha! But fate deals a timely interruption. Oh, my pot is boiling over. Just as Lois rushes forwards, ping, ka-ping! Have to save my asparagus. I missed her. That kooky film I moved at the last second. Good grief! I've heard of a peeping Tom, but there's a peeping sharpshooter and a helicopter outside my window. Mick, are you okay? More blazing gunfire sears into the room, while Lois cringes for cover, calling out the name of her elusive son. Bam, blam, kabam! Mick, where are you? Splack! Choke. Mick may be wounded or worse. Looks like it's up to me to let these killers know this target fights back. Did you get Lois Lane? Must have. Don't see or hear nothing. And you hear the whop, whop, whop of the helicopter there. As the helicopter nears Lois's apartment window, the dame threw steaming hot asparagus at me. Splash. Bungler, you wasted all those slugs and never hit her. But then, without warning, hey, is it the rest of the world, or are we upside down? It's us, like someone's in force took hold of the copter and flipped it over like it was a kid's toy. Hurry, fly us out of here while we're still airborne. My nerves are curdling. The worst is yet to come. Now we've got to face the boss and tell him Lois Lane is still alive. At the same time, phew, Mick, so you were out here all along. It's a wonder those murderers didn't see you. Come on, I'll help you inside. Lois is at it again. By reading her lips, I can see she's talking to herself again, while pretending to help someone else in through her window. It's a very bad sign. Who is watching Lois? Oh, super bodybuilding course here. Super bodybuilding course. Send off to Universal Bodybuilding. Yeah, they will send you the works for free. Wow. How did they make any money, these people? Yes, Melba is watching the scene through a telescope. I can't explain why that killer copter went out of control. I'm just glad Lois wasn't hurt. She must have flipped Joe in these past few days of stress and strain. Poor Lois is, or was, the top miss in the newspaper game. I dread delivering this story to Perry White and WGBS, but the choice isn't mine to make. I'm a reporter, and the public must be informed of Lois Lane's mental breakdown. Later, in Bull Barkley's penthouse, a display of seething rage. Idiots! Did I hire two killers or a pair of mindless walking bookends? Slap. I must say, bookends isn't the most terrible expletive to use, is it? As a gang boss. He's a gang boss who doesn't swear too much. One last chance. If Lois Lane isn't dead by tonight, you two will be dead by tomorrow. Read me? We read you, boss. Soon, a somber Melba Manton is on the air with her nightly newscast. Crime Czar Bull... I'll start again in the female voice. Crime Czar Bull Barkley will go free without Lois Lane's testimony. The district attorney sadly announced today that Miss Lane will be an unreliable witness in her present condition. As this film clearly shows, Lois Lane suffers from hallucinations. She constantly talks to an imaginary son who isn't there. WGBS is releasing this for an urgent reason. Lois Lane has been missing since early afternoon. She's assumed to be somewhere in the metropolis area. If anyone sees her, please notify Melba Manton at WGBS at once. And it's vital that she be located. What a lucky break. That Lane dame couldn't have picked a better time to go bananas. Now she's no threat to me, alive or dead. And at the Daily Planet, what else could go wrong? First Lois thinks she's a mother, then drops out of sight. And now Clark Kent has turned up missing too. My two best reporters, lost. If you only knew the worst of it, Perry, that Superman himself has vanished from the face of the earth. Meantime, in a secluded deep green patch of forest on the outskirts of the city, an eye-popping, phantasmagorical spectacle unfolds for an audience of one. Bravo! What a sensational stunt! Making those tree branches grow instantly to spell out my name. Very thoughtful of you, Mick. I'm glad we decided to get away from it all at this picnic in the woods. Dig in, Mick. This is Chicken a la Lane, guaranteed to be finger-licking good. But two pairs of evil eyes spy on the picnicking reporter from behind a leafy cover. Still don't see why we've been tailing the Lane dame all the way out here. We could have killed her long ago. Use that vacuum of a brain, you hamburger. Out here there won't be any witnesses. Do you think this grenade launcher will do its job and save us from Bull's temper? At this range, we can't miss. Lane's as good as dead, and out here, only the birds and the bees will hear the blast. And then, look, Mick, up in the sky, it's him. At last, you two will get to meet each other. Who's the one person on Earth who could make Lois beam with so much joy, you ask? Who else but Superman? I'm so glad to see you, Superman. Everyone's saying I'm loony, flipped out of my mind. But I know you won't doubt me. Lois, I'm sorry to say... Suddenly, before the Metropolis Marble can utter another word, Lois interrupts, her voice strangely strained. I can't hold my feelings back any longer, Superman. Now that I have a son, we can't keep up a part-time relationship. Ooh, records, only £1.97 each. So $1.97 each. You got Cheech and Chong, Santana, T-Rex, Lynn Anderson, the Osmonds, crazy horses. Ooh, crazy horses are there in the air and they keep on coming and something multiply. I can't remember. It's a good song though. Anyway, oh, lots of tapes, loads of tapes, tons of tapes. Let's keep going. Superman, look at Mick, a 10-year-old boy who needs a father to look up to. I can't do a decent job of raising him all by myself, so there's only one thing to do. Superman, you've got to marry me. Who? Me? At that very moment, a few dozen yards away, hold it, don't loose the grenade. Superman just arrived. Too late. I already fired. Zing. Superman, you can't run out on me now when little Mick and I need you the most. A single heartbeat later, the mightiest arm on Earth squashes a violent grenade blast that drowns out Lois's pleas. Kaboom! I'm not leaving you, Lois, just making sure you don't leave the living. My invulnerable hand would absorb this explosion, and it didn't take long to calculate that this grenade was launched by these two jokers. Ugh! Oof! Clunk. A moment later, Superman, I don't know what got into me. Something was forcing me to say those things. Right, something who is 10 years old and goes by the name of Mick. Then you can actually see him? Crunch. Not exactly, but I know how to bring him out into the open. First, I'll pulverize this boulder into dust with one super swipe. Next, a blast of super breath will scatter the ultrafine particles, saturating the air with them. Whoosh! The dust will settle on on everything, including your invisible adopted son, Lois. You might as well show yourself, Mick. The featureless form shimmers, quivers into focus to reveal Mick X546, a 10-year-old orphan from the 28th century. Oh, how did you know, Superman? Who put you onto me, Superman? Your guardians in the future. They summoned me. Today I vanished in flight, only to find myself instantly teleported through time to the 28th century. At the orbital orphanage, they explained Mick's rare cosmic allergy, a unique condition that enables him to become invisible to all but one person. Even my supervision couldn't detect him. So that's why everyone thought I was crazy. No one could see Mick but me. The gadgets on Mick's belt are mere toys in his futuristic era, but in our 1973, they performed the fantastic feats that saved your life from Bull Barkley's men, including changing my height to normal Earth size, not to alarm you. When I was learning at the orphanages, I studied history texts about you and Superman and wondered what terrific parents you'd make if only someone would bring you two together. So I borrowed a time fluxer and came here to 1973 with this Mento channeler. I controlled Lois Lane's will and made her accept me as her son and forced her to demand that you marry her, Superman. Then I'd have a mum and dad. Oh, Superman, think how lonely poor Mick must be. Well, no harm done. Those two thugs ought to confess and finger gangster Bull Barkley for good. As for Mick, I already know a couple in the 20th century who'd love to adopt him, and I'm taking him there right now. After a super swift flight through the time barrier, ironic, Mick set out to adopt Superman as his father and ends up being adopted by one of my descendants here in the future, Clark Kent. And Mick's new mother is Lois Lane. The end. Yeah, I don't get it either. Unless it's just another woman who happens to be called Lois Lane. So that must mean that Superman and Lois don't get married in this time. Otherwise, it'd be their grandchildren marrying each other. That's not gonna. Yeah, let's not go there. I don't think they thought this one out very much. But anyway, that's the first story from this Lois Lane number 131 for my lovely friends at Cover Slingers Showdown. They was desperate for me to tell them what happened in this story. So I may do some more Grey Man story hours. Yeah, in the future, we shall see. Anyway, cheers for watching, and until next time, have a great, amazing day. And as everyone at WGBS News says, what did I say again? I've forgotten. Oh, yeah, may all your news be good news. Bye-bye.